some information to help you outsmart the tax man, and an offer you will want to consider. I'm Matt Aurenz. Join me right now on Your Wealth Health. Hello and welcome to Your Wealth Health. I'm Matt Aurenz, the Director of Wealth Management at Hilltop Wealth Solutions, filling in for Mr. Erik Brenner. If you're watching us on Facebook, please share us with somebody who can use this information. And thanks to those of you who are watching on yourwealthhealth.com. Joining me today are Bill Davis, a private wealth advisor here at Hilltop. Bill is in the studio, but we're keeping our social distance. And joining us via Zoom from our office in Florida, the owner of Hilltop Wealth Solutions, Erik Brenner. Erik, I'm keeping your seat warm until you get back from Florida.
Well, thanks, Matt. It's definitely here, warm here in Florida, but I appreciate you taking my spot there while I'm away.
Yeah. So once again this week, as part of our ongoing effort to educate the public, provide good counsel, and give back to this community, we have a fantastic money-saving offer that we believe could help you save even more money. We will give you the details in a few minutes, so please get something to write with or get your phone or laptop ready. The offer is connected to our topic today, tax planning and strategy in retirement. This is the second of two shows on the topic. We want to show you a quote from Kiplinger that sets the stage for our discussion today. The quote says, "The world we are retiring in today is much different than the world of previous generations. And so it's what's appropriate in terms of planning and investing. Many people entering retirement don't realize this and will model their retirement plans on their parents' plans. This could lead to undetected risks that have potentially disastrous results in the long term." So take a look at how retirement has changed in the past 30 years. We have a graphic here that kind of shows some of these differences. So Bill, maybe you could walk us through some of these differences that we've seen over the last 30 years.
Absolutely, Matt. Yeah, 30 years ago, 65% of retiree income was coming from Social Security. And if you see that today, it's about a quarter of a retiree's income comes from Social Security now. So that's a big change right there. You know, about 43% of retirees had pension plans back in 30 years ago, where today it's less than 20%. So those defined benefit plans, they've pretty much gone away now. So that's a huge change. Healthcare, we're all familiar with how expensive healthcare is becoming, and it was very common that 30 years ago, healthcare would be included in their defined benefit and their pension program, where most of the retirees that we see today, they're having to pay for their own health care. So that's a huge change. And then people are living longer. We were experiencing life expectancy of about 75 30 years ago. That's increased by almost 5 years. And so that's having people have to rely more and more on their own savings plans and not relying on defined benefit pension plans any longer.
Yeah, I think that's huge, Bill. I mean, even just conversations I've had with my parents over the years and progressing in my lifetime, it's something that you have to pay attention to. There's always just something shifting. It's a really imperative to pay attention to what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Well, let's take a look at a graphic here and discuss a little bit more about what the burden on people is for their tax strategy, and is it really correct? And we have a case here that we want to take a look at. It's with Brian and Lisa. And Erik, maybe you can set us up with this and just talk a little bit about Brian and Lisa, who they are, and what we're going to be looking at today.
Yeah, so what we wanted to do, Matt, is really break down, a situation, an actual situation, obviously changing the names to keep that confidential. But, we have somebody that they're both age 67. They're both just recently retired. And, Lisa's drawing Social Security, and Brian just decided to delay Social Security at age 70. So what that tells you right away is that they wanted to take some money from Social Security, but they also maybe had other assets that would, take them until their delay until age 70. And you can see Lisa has a pension, so she is fortunate enough. As Bill said, pensions have gotten reduced a lot, but she's fortunate enough to have a pension of $18,000 a year. And then they have about $825,000 in their traditional IRAs. And so that's important as we work through this case, because it's all pre-tax money. And so you'll see as we work through this case today that, that comes into play.
Yeah, thank you. So, Bill, let me ask you this. What are some important decisions that Bill and Lisa are going to have when it comes to saving some money?
Yeah, they're getting to that stage that they're not going to be able to accumulate money outside of their traditional IRAs, since that bucket has gotten so big. And this is one of the things we face, is that most people haven't had access to things like Roth IRAs within their 401ks. So an after-tax option within their 401ks. It's more common today, but there's no conversion privileges within the 401k. So so they might want to pivot their current savings, as long as Brian's going to continue to work, if he's going to continue to work till age 70, and maybe they could start, as long as they have earned income, they could start contributing to Roth IRAs. But we would be looking at, how big is this $825,000 bucket going to become by age 72 when required minimum starts, and then possibly starting to withdraw some money today, and then determining whether we want to convert that to Roth or whether we want to put it in a non-qualified investment bucket. That then it would just be interest, dividends, and capital gains that would be taxable in that bucket.
That's great. So, Erik, maybe you could help us. We have a tax scenario here that we can briefly look at, and Bill just mentioned Roth conversion, and it's a hot topic for a lot of people, especially with uncertain tax codes and changing of the tax brackets. Can you walk us through some potential opportunity in this case where they have for Roth conversions?
Yeah, so relative to, as what Bill was saying with the Roth conversions, and one of the things that we've seen is, you do have to think differently about the way that you're saving for retirement, and so that's going to be be an important factor there. But in this case, they already have saved. So if we take a look at the screen and kind of how it lays out here on this conversion strategy and chart, what this really does is there's a lot of numbers here, and it really lays out their income streams. So if you look at the graphic, you can see the lines that go across that's kind of straight across. The different color lines are the marginal tax rates, 12, 22, 24, and 32%. And so the green bars are important because those are the required minimum distributions. And so those are those that are going to be required at least by age 72 to withdraw. And most people think those numbers actually will go down as they get older, which in this case, you can see their projected income is actually projected to go up. As they get older, it's projected to go up and over time. And so we looked at this as a conversion strategy, Bill, that this couple, by doing some conversion strategy, could save upwards of $130,000 in tax savings over their lifetime. And that's in today's dollars, right? That's in today's tax brackets.
Yeah, that's correct. So so over about 4 or 5 years, we get the money out of the qualified plan and we get it into the Roth, and you're exactly right. You're looking at over $130,000 in tax savings.
Yeah, that's a powerful dollar amount. It's a powerful strategy when used appropriately. So, well, as we mentioned earlier this last week, we're offering a fantastic deal that is a big part of our ongoing effort to educate the public, provide good counsel, and give back to this great community. It's a great opportunity we think you should consider, or someone maybe should consider. We are providing a complimentary tax analysis, but you must call the number on the screen to sign up. We will underwrite the costs for the first 10 people who call. This is a $1,500 to $2,000 value. That number is 574-633-1476. Once again, that number is 574-633-1476. We have people standing by to take your information right now. So please take a minute and call to get your complimentary tax analysis. You can also go to our website at hilltopwealthsolutions.com to sign up for this complimentary service. There are some other tax strategy issues we haven't discussed in detail yet, including required minimum distributions and new laws on the books that will have an impact. We'll talk about those when we come back on Your Wealth Health. And once again, here's that phone number to call for your complimentary tax analysis. Stay with us.
Every year, thousands of troops leave active duty service and become veterans within their communities. The stresses for soldiers and traumas of combat can seem overwhelming. In 2013, 1 in 15 troops had a substance abuse problem. Substance abuse also contributes to 21 veteran suicides every day. Believe us, recovery is possible. At Life Treatment Center, we have pledged to provide struggling veterans with 3 meals a day, along with shelter and toiletries. Our Veterans Program works to ensure vets get specialized group and individual treatment sessions, case management, health referrals, mental health referrals, job assistance, among other service options. Life Treatment Center, committed to Michiana veterans. For more information, visit lifetreatment.org.
I cannot work, do e-learning, and keep this house clean.
We should try Kay's way. Your hurry, you were dirty, so we came in a hurry. We can't help you with the e-learning, but we can help you with the cleaning. Try Kay's way.
Welcome back to Your Wealth Health. I'm Matt Aurenz, the Director of Wealth Management at Hilltop Wealth Solutions. I'm here with Bill Davis, one of our private wealth advisors, and the owner of Hilltop, Erik Brenner, who's joining us from our Florida office. We're talking about tax planning and strategy for retirement, and we want to discuss required minimum distributions. The IRS defines a required minimum distribution as the amount of money that must be withdrawn from a traditional IRA, a simplified employee pension plan, or an individual retirement account by a plan participant at retirement age. Bill, RMDs are an important part of any tax planning strategy, so maybe you can speak to that real quick for us.
Yeah, Matt, thanks. I think that the challenge that our viewers have is understanding what required minimum distributions will be in the future. Now it's been extended to age 72 from age 70 and a half. As we saw in the example of Brian, they had accumulated quite a bit of money that we need to run some software calculations to determine, how much will that continue to grow so that we can see how that will potentially negatively impact the forced income at age 72 that, again, could force them into a higher tax bracket. So step one is to utilize some planning tools, of which we have access to those, that can determine based on contributions for the next however many years Brian's going to work, current balance, a reasonable assumed rate of return, and then the software will calculate, here's the first year required minimum distribution, and that will determine what tax bracket they're going to be in. Now, of course, we don't know what the tax brackets are going to be, but as we've talked about on previous shows, it's our expectation that the tax brackets will probably move north of where they're at today, just based on federal deficits and things like that. So so determining should we potentially be withdrawing some of that qualified or IRA assets today to either put it into a non-qualified bucket of savings, or to possibly do the Roth conversion. So we might even go back to that Brian's chart and look at the Roth conversion that they did over 3 or 4 years, and the amount of savings that we see, over $150,000 in savings by doing a Roth conversion today, and then our software could tell us what bracket would we be in the future.
Yeah, that's great, Bill. So Erik, Bill makes a great point here, and I think that's one thing maybe we can just make sure our viewers know is, are required minimum distributions subject from a Roth IRA?
Well, no, so the answer is no. So they're not subject to required minimum distributions. Roth IRAs are not subject to required minimum distribution. So, that certainly is an advantage there, that those can continue to grow tax deferred. And in fact, then they go tax free to the beneficiary as long as they've had a Roth established for 5 years.
That's great, thank you. So when you're talking Roth conversion, I think the power here is getting money into a retirement vehicle that's not going to force you to take money out in the future. But when you do take money out in the future, it comes out tax-free. Would you agree?
That's correct. Yep. And so yeah, it's going to be tax-free to the saver, to the owner, and it's going to be tax-free to their beneficiaries as well.
Right, which is an important aspect. It's tax savings for you today, and it's also tax savings for future generations.
That's right.
Which I think is powerful.
That's right.
Well, in December of 2019, Congress passed a new legislation known as the Secure Act. We've talked about it before, but it does have an impact on tax planning and strategy. This law impacts required minimum distributions, IRA contributions, charitable distributions, and estate planning. Especially when it comes to inherited IRAs. It's removed the so-called stretch IRA. So Bill, can you speak to what that means, removing the stretch IRA?
Sure. So traditionally a beneficiary of a traditional IRA or a retirement plan would be able to put that into what's referred to as an inherited IRA. Then their required minimum distribution would begin in the year following the year that they put it into the inherited IRA, and then they would take a small amount based on their age, their life expectancy, and they could stretch that for the rest of their life. And that we would find those inherited IRAs would grow because the life expectancy tables were very favorable as to how much they would have to take out. So the CARES Act now that eliminated the stretch, it eliminated required minimum distribution in the year following death, and it now has to be withdrawn over a 10-year period. And it doesn't have to be withdrawn every year during that 10-year period. A person could actually leave that in the inherited IRA for 9 years and 11 months, but by the end of that 10-year time period, it would have to be withdrawn. So that's now people are going to require getting some advice to help them understand what tax bracket will they be in, and could they manage those distributions over the 10-year time period?
Yeah, that's good. That's good information to know. And Eric, Bill brings up a good point when we're talking about 10 years. That's 2.5 presidential election terms, right? So there's the potential for a lot of tax laws to change over that time. So when you think of somebody inheriting an IRA and having 10 years to withdraw, what do you think that requires for them on an annual tax planning basis?
Yeah, so I think the beneficiaries are going to have to do, more tax planning as well for a couple of reasons. Number one is these inherited IRAs are becoming larger and larger because this is the way people have been saving. And so when you think about someone now receiving it, they're probably in their 50s, 60s, maybe they still have a working career. So I could see beneficiaries taking money out at the wrong times. Maybe they don't take it, if they're going to retire in 2 or 3 years, they receive an inherited IRA. Maybe they delay that until after retirement, but I could see people taking these distributions and not really understanding the tax impact and end up paying more in income taxes than really what they should.
Yeah, I would agree. And Bill, really quick, could you just briefly talk about maybe a tax advantage of gifting your required minimum distribution?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. The Secure Act continues to allow what we call qualified charitable distributions. This allows a participant to be able to gift money directly from the custodian of the IRA to the charity of their choice. And so if you think about that, that allows them to basically give a tax-free benefit. It's very common that people would be writing checks to their place of worship, for example, with after-tax money. So take money out of an IRA, pay tax on it, write their check on a weekly basis to their place of worship. Well, we're encouraging people that are over the age of 70 and a half to take advantage of the qualified charitable distribution to be able to spend down some of that IRA money and have it be the most tax-advantaged way to gift.
Yeah, it's a great strategy when used appropriately.
Yeah.
I would agree. Thank you, Bill. So once again, we want to help you avoid costly mistakes. we are offering a deal that fits in with our ongoing effort to provide education, great counsel, and give back to this community. We are providing a complimentary tax analysis, but you must call the number on your screen to sign up. We will underwrite the cost of the first 10 people who call. This is a $1,500 to $2,500 value that we will not charge. That number again is 574-633-1476. Once again, 574-633-1476. We have people standing by to take your information right now, so please take a minute and call to get your complimentary tax analysis. You can also log on to our website at hilltopwealthsolutions.com to sign up for this service. So how does tax planning fit into the big picture of retirement planning? And what exactly is the role of a fiduciary financial advisor? We'll break it down for you when we come back on Your Wealth Health. And once again, here's that phone number and information for you to sign up for your complimentary tax analysis. We'll be right back.
I switched to Home Comfort Experts.
We switched to Home Comfort Experts.
I switched
We switched.
I switched to Home Comfort Experts.
To keep my family safe.
for their expertise.
For efficiency.
Because I trust them.
We're comfortable.
I'm comfortable. We switched to Home Comfort Experts, and I couldn't be happier.
It's time for your annual furnace tune-up. Call now and take advantage of our $89 20-point precision tune-up. 574-255-4600.
Welcome back to Your Wealth Health. I'm Matt Aurenz. We want to talk about how tax planning fits into the big picture when it comes to what we do as fiduciary advisors. We have a graphic that will help us explain it. We call it our forward-looking tax plan. So Bill, what is exactly a fiduciary and what does it mean when it comes to tax planning?
Yeah, so fiduciary means that we're never going to recommend anything that is inappropriate for the client. So we're only looking at strategies that are appropriate. So we would start here with Social Security. Social Security would be not taxable depending on what other income sources. So we need to understand their investment plan and where their investments fall, whether they're qualified, non-qualified, and then where do they want these assets to go in the future. So Eric, if you want to take the next several bullets, that would be helpful.
Yeah. So, again, on the forward-looking tax plan, as you said, the Medicare surcharge, we some people are subject to that don't know they're subject to it. Really got to have a plan. We showed the graphic today on, taking income distributions at different times during retirement. So they really have to have a plan there. And then finally, when it comes to legacy planning, I mean, you can leave your money to who you want it to go to, charity or the IRS. So, folks do have a choice, and most people don't choose the IRS, Matt.
No, I don't think most people do. Occasionally we see that they choose that, but that's not really the ideal plan in my book. Yeah, exactly. So are there any other thoughts that you have, Bill, on the importance of what tax planning looks like?
Sure. I mean, it's all about looking at it every single year. And so every single year we take our client's tax return, we put it into our tax clarity software, determine if there's any opportunities to leverage the tax bracket, the marginal tax bracket we're in, making sure our clients understand what's the difference between a marginal tax bracket and an effective tax bracket. And so all of these things on this pinwheel come together when you're working with a fiduciary advisor.
Yeah, I would agree. And Eric, just thinking you're in Florida, that has a different tax consequence when it comes to state income tax than Indiana would have. So maybe you could speak to, what you see when people are becoming transition in retirement and moving to different states. Do they have to take a look at other things there?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. They do. There is taxes to consider, certainly from a state perspective. Obviously, everybody's on the federal side. The other things we look at is, do their Medicare coverages change? That's an issue. How their health care is covered. And so there's those things as well. The other thing is estate planning, Matt. So, it's really important that especially if they change residencies, they need to make sure that their estate plan is updated. And we recommend looking at it every 5 years. But if they change residencies, then they need to make sure that the estate plan is applicable in the state that they're in.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think it all comes back down to that quote we talked about when we opened this show, which was, the tax planning and the retirement planning of your parents' generation is going to be different than our generation, my kids' generation, and going forward. And so I think it is. I think it's paramount that as we plan with people, and just even, the age difference between us, what you did 20 years ago and what I did 20 years ago definitely looks different than where we're going to go forward from here. So it's really important to take a look on an annual basis what you're doing when it comes to tax planning. And you have to have a fiduciary advisor who's got your best interest at heart. So once again, we want to thank you. And we put together a tax planning and to avoid costly mistakes, we are offering a generous deal that you or someone you know will want to take advantage of. We're providing a complimentary tax analysis, but you must call the number on the screen to sign up. We will underwrite the cost for the first 10 people who call. This is a $1,500 to $2,500 value that will not charge. We are underwriting this fee for you. The number again is 574-633-1476. Again, 574-633-1476. We have people standing by to take your information right now. So please take a minute and call to get your complimentary tax analysis. You can also go to our website at hilltopwealthsolutions.com to sign up for this complimentary service. So you may have heard that there's a pretty big football game in town tonight. Notre Dame is hosting Clemson in what has been called the biggest game in college football this year. We have some Notre Dame fans here at Hilltop, so we wanted to get some predictions. Bill, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on this game?
Well, we're pleased to host game day this weekend. That's always exciting. And this has certainly been on my calendar for a number of years, ever since they announced it a few years ago that we'd be playing Clemson. You're always hoping that that it's gonna build up to be what it is, with two undefeated teams in the top 5 or top 4, whoever's poll you watch. So yes, I will predict a very close game, but I will predict Notre Dame will be the victors.
Notre Dame as victors. Eric, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm along with Bill. Bill and I wish we were actually there and tailgating and going to the game, but obviously we cannot do so. So Notre Dame will squeak it out by just 3 points.
All right. Well, sounds great. Well, we're out of time for this morning's show. For Bill Davis and the entire Hilltop Wealth staff, I'm Matt Aurenz. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week. Stay wealthy, Michiana, and go Irish.